Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Let's Talk Mindset with me, your host, Michelle Walter. I am the CEO of Elevate and Empower, and I am dedicated to helping people elevate their healing so that they can empower their future. So, welcome to this episode of Let's Talk Mindset. So, let's get into it, people. Today's topic is how to survive the early stages of grief. A Widow's Guide to Emotional Survival. And that's what we're talking about today, emotional survival. If you happen to be in the early stages or the early days of your grief and you're feeling like you're barely surviving, then this episode is definitely for you. I just want to acknowledge the common feelings that come along with these early stages of grief, the numbness, the feeling of overwhelm, the sleep issues, whether you can't sleep enough or can't get enough sleep, or you're sleeping too much because you're in a depression, the shock, all of these are common feelings in the early stages of grief. And let me just tell you that you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You are grieving. And you're not alone. What the early stages of grief really feel like. I want to discuss that with you right now because there's a misconception out there that grief is this neat, packaged set of stages that we go through in a linear fashion, and it's all packed up neat and tidy for us. And I'm here to tell you, as somebody who is a grief counselor, a grief therapist, a grief life coach, and someone who has lost in the last 5 years and gone through my own grief journey, that none of that is true. Grief is not a tidy little package, neat little package, and the nice little stages, and you go through 1, 2, 3 in the proper order, and then at the end of it, you're all healed. Grief is not linear, and I've said this many times. Grief is more like a series of waves, hills and valleys, right? It's not a checklist. And it's not a destination. It is a journey, let me tell you. And with grief can come, along with grief can come emotional and physical symptoms. You can have things like brain fog, tightness of the chest, anxiety, panic attacks, forgetfulness, depression, body aches. All of these things can manifest in you as grief. And it took me a long time to find that sense of emotional survival right after the loss of my husband. So I just want to let you know that your feelings are valid. Many widows Google how to cope after losing my husband, right? In the middle of the night, when they don't know what to do, this is what widows are Googling. And I know this because I was one of them. I was one of them. How do you survive when your world is flipped upside down in that type of way? So, here are some survival priorities for you for the first 90 days of your grief journey. And this is, like I said, for those of you who are in the early stages of your grief and your loss. So, the first thing I want you to do is honor your body and your nervous system. Okay? Because right now you are in the fight, flight, or freeze stage because it's so early. So I implore you to please be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself. You've suffered a loss. It is a trauma, and it's both physical and mental, and it will have both physical and mental effects on you. So be patient with yourself. right? Have set some simple daily goals, right? Hydrate. Make sure you drink enough water. Breathe. When anxiety or panic attacks or these things want to creep in, these thoughts and feelings want to creep in and emotions, just take a minute to stop whatever it is you're doing. If you're only watching TV, stop it, pause it. If it's a movie, whatever, and just take a moment to breathe. And the third thing I want to stress is to listen to your body when it's telling you, when it's yelling at you to rest. Listen to your body and take some time to rest. So these are some simple ways that you can start coping with these griefs. Sorry. These are some simple ways that you can begin to cope with these grief symptoms. Okay, and that's just a start. The next thing I want you to focus on is create one safe anchor. And by this I mean create a daily routine or ritual, even if it's lighting a candle or morning tea, whatever it is, create for yourself a ritual, a calming, grounding morning ritual, daily routine that you do every single day to set the intention for your day and to also ground you. Now, for me personally, I'll use my own personal experience. For me, it is meditation and journaling. And I can tell you right now that every morning when I wake up, before I even have my morning coffee or turn the television on to see what's on the morning news, before I do any of these things, I light my candle, I light some sage, I meditate with some meditation music in my earbuds, and I journal. And this is how I set the intention for my day every day, without fail. Whether I'm sick, whether I'm away on vacation, if I have to meditate on the beach, I will do so. Meditation and journaling is my daily routine that sets the tone for my day, sets my intentions, and helps to ground me. So you can borrow that if you want, because it works. So, and these things help me learn how to survive the early stages of grief, right? The meditation, the journaling, the breathing, the listening to my body and make sure that I rest when I need to. All of these things contributed to my healing. Your brain needs safety and your heart needs permission. Okay? I'm going to repeat that. Your brain requires safety and your heart requires permission. The next thing I want you to focus on is talk to somebody who gets it. Talk to somebody who gets it. Seeking community in your grief is normal. In fact, it's amazing, and I applaud anyone who does it because healing does not happen in isolation. Healing does not happen in isolation. I know it because I've lived it. I tried to isolate myself from my family, my friends, people who cared about me. I tried to shut them out and isolate myself, and it only made the situation worse. It only intensified my negative emotions. It only made things worse. And the minute I reached out for help, the minute I reached out for community and support and broke that isolation, is the minute that I started to feel better and I started to heal. So healing doesn't happen in isolation, people. So don't isolate yourself. I know how easy it is to do so because I've been there, but it's not the solution. In fact, the opposite is. So when you feel like isolating yourself, get up and go reach out for somebody to talk to share time with, share conversation with, share your story with, somebody who gets it, right? And if you can't find that somebody who gets it, then send me a message. DM me. I get it. And I'm here to listen and help you through it. Even if you're just listening to the podcast like this, right? This kind of grief podcast or something like that, you are reaching for light. Okay? And I, for one, would like to applaud that because that's the first step. You're reaching for light, and that's amazing. So I applaud you. Good job. I also would like to give you another opportunity for a step in the right direction. I offer a free grief recovery roadmap, and this is a downloadable resource that you can find on my website. I will also put the link to it in the comments for this episode. And it is a guide. I think it's a 7-day guide or a 10-day guide, or I'm not sure, but it's a guide to help you to deal with the initial stages of grief. And I just share in it some of the things that I did and some of the ways that I coped and I survived and some of the little routines and rituals that I've created for myself. So it's a free resource, and utilize it. Why not? It's your first step to helping you with grief. So if you're listening and you're struggling, you can download this free grief recovery roadmap. It's a gentle step by step guide designed to help widows and those who are going through grief, um, help you to move from feeling lost to finding a little more peace in every single day. So that's my grief recovery roadmap. And I will leave the link down there for you to download that. I want to talk a little bit about grief triggers for a moment. Excuse me. I want to talk a little bit about grief triggers for a moment and what to expect and how to handle them. Because things like firsts and anniversaries, unexpected reminders, right? They can be real and real painful. So, a tip I have for you is write them down, okay? Write them down, name them, and allow space for them. And these are just a few tips on how to cope with grief triggers, right? Um, I've told a story before, and I'll tell you again that a brief story about a trigger for me. I decided to try to run away from my grief soon after my husband died, and I let all of you know that that did not work. And I ran away to Vancouver. And when I was my first morning there, ordered some breakfast at the restaurant, sitting, looking at the view of the water, and it's beautiful and peaceful and serene. And nobody there knows I'm a widow, so nobody's saying sorry for your loss and giving me that look of, oh, I feel so sorry for her kind of thing. And because that's what I was running away from. So I didn't have any of that. However, as I'm waiting for my breakfast, I had a grief trigger because over the loudspeaker where they were playing music, the song, our wedding song by John Legend, came onto the loudspeaker. And I fell apart. Right there in the restaurant, at the table, by myself, fell apart. So that was a trigger for me. Now, fast forward a few years later, I can hear that song now and it's not a trigger. It's not that much of a trigger. It is a trigger in the sense that it triggers now happy memories and peaceful, happy memories. Even makes me smile when I hear the song. But at that time, when I was in the early stages of my grief, it was a awful trigger. It made me feel awful. I fell apart right there in the restaurant. And so coping with these triggers, the best thing for you to do is just let them be. You're in your grief. Your journey is your own. And if you fall apart waiting for your breakfast in the middle of a restaurant, who cares? Who cares? It's your journey. Feel how you want to feel. Cry when you want to cry. Laugh when you want to laugh. And do not feel guilty when you are smiling or laughing, because that is what your loved one would want for you. Right? So, what not to expect from yourself right now. Okay? Give yourself some grace and some patience. Don't expect any productivity in the early stages of your grief. You've suffered a trauma, and it's enough effort that it takes to get out of bed every day. Productivity can wait. Positivity. If you feel like you're walking around and being a negative Nelly, you probably are, but you're entitled and it is normal. Again, you're grieving, you suffered a trauma, and positivity can wait because right now, the way you feel, everything is negative. Nothing is going right. Everything sucks and it's all negative. So don't expect any positivity from yourself. Okay? The third thing I want you to not expect from yourself, and it just so happens that all these three things start with the letter P: purpose. If you had a purpose before your loss, you might not have that same purpose now after the loss. In fact, you don't know what your purpose is. And I speak from experience when I tell you that there were times when I had no idea what my purpose was outside of being his wife, right? Grief isn't laziness. Grief is not weakness. You're grieving, right? And it's just as important to heal after loss, after grief, as it is to heal from a surgery. And I'm going to repeat that for you. Healing, emotional healing after loss, is just as important as healing after a surgery where a surgeon cut you open. Just as important. So remember that it's not just physical health, it's also mental health. Your health doesn't stop at your neck, right? You're grieving and you're not failing. So respect your healing time and respect the healing process. Give yourself some grace, give yourself some patience. You are not failing. You're grieving, okay? Just want to let you know that. Everything is normal. You're not broken. Nothing wrong with you. Everything that you're feeling, everything that you're going through, the thoughts going through your head, the emotions that you are feeling, the days when you can't get out of bed, the days when you don't want to have a shower, the days when you want to lock yourself away, don't answer the phone, don't answer the door, keep yourself isolated from everybody, is normal. These feelings, these emotions are all normal. Survival doesn't mean perfection. Okay? It means showing up for yourself in the smallest ways. So, like I said, those morning routines, the meditation, the journaling, the bubble bath in the middle of the week, just because you can, right? Getting out of bed and making yourself that healthy breakfast. Getting out of your home and taking a walk now that the weather here is getting nicer. Get out, get a walk, move your body, do some yoga. I've just taken up yoga recently, so I'm all a big fan about it. Do some yoga. Take up tennis. You know what I mean? If you have a dog like myself, walk your dog twice a day instead of once. Whatever it is. Survival does not mean perfection. It just means that you are showing up for yourself in the smallest and the simplest of ways so that you can help your healing move forward. You're not meant to do this alone, and you don't have to. Again, I invite you to download my free grief recovery roadmap. It's my free gift to you for from one it's my free gift to you from one widow to another, right? From one person who's been through this grieving journey to another, because I know how heavy it feels to try and figure this out on your own. It's way too heavy, and you shouldn't have to do it on your own, and you don't. I'm here. Reach out for help. There's support groups out there. There's therapists out there. There's life coaches out there. There's counselors out there. There's grieving groups out there. There are so many resources out there for you, both free and paid. And so don't think you have to do this alone. Don't isolate yourself. Reach out to someone. And if you have no one to reach out to, then reach out to me. I'm here and I've been there, and I betcha, just betcha, that I can help you. All right? So I want to thank everyone for listening and watching this episode of Let's Talk Mindset. My next episode, we're going to talk about understanding the physical symptoms of grief. Okay? The physical symptoms, because it's not only mental, it can manifest physically in our body. So that's what we're going to talk about next time. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it. I want you guys to remember, please be sure to like, to share, to comment on this episode, and to subscribe so that you don't miss any further episodes. My podcast is available on Spotify, and you can also reach me on YouTube at Michelle Walter Wellness. And to download my free grief recovery roadmap, this will be your first step towards your healing. So look for the link in the bio, look for the link in my comments, DM me, comment, like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you all next time when we talk some more mindset. So stay mindful, stay safe, and be good to each other. Ciao.